Okay, so at this point, everyone should be able to see on their screens what Crowbar 2 looks like with a freshly finished install. Yeah. So I've got two windows open here. One is a terminal where I'm going to be splatting some RESTful calls at to finish the deploy, and the other one is what a Crowbar node looks like, or what Crowbar will look like just out of the box without having finished setup. We've already got the web UI up and running. We already have our default deployment with the system snapshot with nothing in it. Go to nodes, we don't have one, and we have the option to create an admin server. Rob has been working on a UI screen that'll have a little wizard that you can walk through to do some of the stuff that I'm going to do manually. So at this point, we have to finish satisfying the prerequisites for running Crowbar. First thing is an admin network.
That's not readable anymore.
Don't need to be readable.
Yeah. It's an API call that says create an admin network.
All right. And now, if I go to roles.
So hold on, quick question. If you have an admin node up and running, why don't you have an admin network?
Because I don't have an admin node in Crowbar, I just have the web UI up and running.
Okay. I'm confused.
Remember one of the key requirements here was that we don't pre-configure a whole bunch of stuff. So
yeah, we don't pre-configure anything, essentially. We let the user be able to do that through the web UI or through the API or whatever their favorite method is.
That old modify your network JSON
Chef's probably not even running. Chef's probably not even running.
Yeah, Chef isn't even running right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now, I went in, created my default admin network. It's mostly the same parameters that were in the old admin network, but I was able to create it on the fly and up to the point where we have the admin node created. You can modify it at will. And there are no other networks created right now. The idea with the rest of the networks is that they'll be created at point of need instead of having to pre-configure all of them. So, Randy, I know in particular this will make your life a little easier. Second thing we do is create.
So the network JSON file is basically broken into multiple roles, so each one's distinct, right? That's
yep.
It's showing.
Hey, and that crashed now. Woohoo. Let's do it that way. Oh no!
It probably worked. It's just giving you an error.
Yeah, no, it didn't work. Oh, nope, there it is. Okay. Okay, so we go and we've got our node, and we've got all of the roles that have been bound to that node, including a role for setting up Chef, a role that'll let the Chef do things to the node, and all of the roles that we need the provisioner to, or that we need to get up to bootstrapping the provisioner.
A little context. What this screen is showing you is all the discrete steps that normally would be hidden behind the allocate step. So in this case, you can actually see, these are hidden behind the install.
Yeah.
So normally all this stuff would be done by the installer and you wouldn't be able to control it or see it. In this case, we expose every action, every step. And so these are all things that need to be done to bootstrap the system and be brought up.
Okay.
Can you modify the network after the admin node is deployed?
One of the rules for the admin network is that it is going to be set in stone, other than the choice of what conduit it's running on. The reason for that is that everything that Crowbar has to do to manage other nodes has to go over the admin.
I want to give a very specific, concrete answer. Future function is ideally, we are matching current function first. Current function, you can't change it. In Crowbar 1, you can't change it. In Crowbar 2, no added function.
Okay, so the question was, I understand admin node, but since we split the role of the network into separate roles for different networks, is there ability to modify other networks?
We're not demonstrating that.
Not demonstrating that.
Got it.
I'm going to keep you very tightly focused on this.
Yeah. Oh, and that is because.
So Rob, with Crowbar 2.0 is someone who wishes to deploy this to a network address other than the 192.168.124 able to change that?
If they edited it before we deploy it, yes. So the screen that Victor showed you was a place where you could edit to modify the network that was going to get set up.
And that API call I made at the very beginning, you know, you can change that to whatever IP range you want.
The wizard screen actually would let you set it there too. Once you get the wizard.
Wonderful, thank you.
Right. We're trying to be very careful to replace Crowbar 1 function first and not block future capability.
Okay. And now I'm going to go through and I'm going to essentially turn all of these lights from either gray or yellow to green.
There should be a link for the end of that. You like this screen.
I like this screen. It has less noise.
Is this much faster or slower than the current one?
Faster. It's actually a great deal faster. There are only 2 roles that take an actual amount, or 3 roles that take an actual amount of time to deploy, or that take a non-trivial amount of time. Those are the chef server role, which takes a fair amount of time because it has to actually set up the chef server and then it runs sanity tests against it to make sure that it's fully functional. Deployer client, because it has a baked-in 45-second wait while it sniffs on all your Ethernet devices to make sure it captured all the switch info. And provisioner server, because it's spinning up a whole bunch of other junk in the background.
Remember, in the past, when you did an install, all this was done silently by the installer. And so one of the big differences, you can get very quickly to the web UI and then actually watch it do the real setup and configuration.
Mm-hmm.
Which also means you can tweak the defaults of any one of these roles.
While this is transitioning, I'll show y'all some of the individual node role states.
Hey guys, this is Jim. I just have a question. Since we're allowing folks to muck with things that they typically didn't used to be able to muck with, actually, let me get to a higher level question, and that is the requirements for these screens and the functionality that we're going to allow in these new screens, is that spec'd out in the Crowbar 2.0 doc that we have on the Twiki somewhere?
Ooh, a doc on the Twiki. Any doc that's on the Twiki is probably ridiculously outdated by now.
There are a lot of,
thinking.
yeah, it is. There's a lot of use cases on this. Right now, these are just like in Crowbar 1. These are the raw views. The views that you're seeing can be overlaid with forms that make it easier to and less risky to modify.
So let me get to my specific question, and that is, if someone goes in and types in something stupid here in one of these wizard pages, it would make sense to me, like, so I'm talking about how enhancements are going to be handled in Crowbar 2, since there's going to be a lot of discussion over different functionality that should be there and what we can ship without. I like the ability to, like, all these grid screens, like we have the inventory report, which has print and export. So in order to help people debug over the phone, it would be easy if we could dump these things so we could see what kind of garbage they typed in there by them just sending it to us in an email.
Well, let me show you something that I think may help alleviate some of your concerns. So the deployer client is active. And you can see user data is data that the user wanted to send to the node role to be applied to the node. System data is any data that the Crowbar framework decided was a good idea to send. Jig managed data is data that it got back from Chef. And the very last thing that all node role runs have is a complete capture of everything that the jig had to do to the node to make it do what it wanted to do.
So if there was an error, you would actually have the relevant logs right there on
This is the log.
screen. This
Yeah.
is the log.
Cool.
But Jim, the log export utility is still there.
Yeah, we can still capture all the logs, but we can also not have to capture all of the logs and not force a customer to read through the entire, several megabytes worth of Chef client output.
One of our really significant objectives here was to make operations of the Crowbar engine which in Crowbar 2 we're calling the annealer, make that as transparent and specific as possible. So,
Sure.
right. Can you bring up the snapshot page? That's another view of the same thing you're showing.
Oh, something
Yeah,
errored. Provisioner
So-
repos had an error. Oh,
You
no.
don't have the new.
No, I don't have it yet.
So, so in this screen, what you actually see is this is a matrix of all the roles in the system and all the nodes in the system. It would actually put a status light by every place where that node has that role, so you can actually go through and see a matrix of the entire system as it's progressing through a deployment.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a look and see what failed in that provisioner repos run. No logs, which probably means that my intermittent SSH glitch caught me again. So let's rerun that.
And one of the things you can do if there's a specific error, there's a retry button right there.
And now it's active. And we can go in and see that Chef Client did in fact run, figured out all the networking information that it needed, converged the network on the admin node, wrote back what it did, and now
Are
the
Chef
admin node is up and
Client
running.
logs available there?
Hmm?
Are Chef Client logs available there?
That is the Chef Client log.
Okay.
So at this point, if I had told my test environment to do it, I would be able to boot nodes or boot other nodes into Sledgehammer and then watch them fail to do anything useful because I haven't coded the routines that let them register themselves with the admin server yet. And that's next on my list of things to do.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, but other than that, the admin node is in a state where it's pretty much fully functional as far as telling other nodes what to do.
Are we using the privileges that are associated with users that we discussed like a year ago when I was on that project?
The auth system you built is still intact. We do use it.
So like a user can't go provision an admin node, only an admin, and I assume only one admin at a time can be doing it.
We have not done any role-based authentication at this point.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we probably won't until there's a compelling need for it. Yeah, right now there's still just the Crowbar user and the machine install user, and
Usually developed. We do use devise. It's still all there.
yeah,
And it's important to stress this. The things that we're building, we really picked up. There's some schema changes that we made, and there's been a lot of integration on the networking to make networking work with roles. But a significant body of all that code we just picked up and kept using. So you'll find that things aren't that different when you start looking at the code.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
And if you want to just play with it, I posted a video about how to use a test system. So you don't actually need to go through all the gyrations of posting servers and things like that. We actually have test infrastructure. And there's an hour-long video about how to do that.
Okay.